This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Bruchim Aboim, welcome everyone to a special edition of All Parsha on Parshas Acharei Mos Kedoshim, the Ramban on Parshas Acharei Mos. We're going to examine today a Ramban on one of the most enigmatic and mysterious subjects in the entire Torah, a very mysterious segment of the Parsha, where the Kohen Gadol on Yom HaKippurim, he separates two karbanos, one which is designated LaHashem. The pasuk says, "V'nasan Aharon al shnei hasi'irim goyra lois." Aaron places on the two goats lots. Goyral echad LaHashem. One lot is for God. V'goyral echad LaAzazel, and one is for Azazel. Now, what does the word Azazel mean, and how could it be that we're bringing karbanos to anyone other than the Ribbon Shalom? So the Ramban will cite Rashi's pshat. He'll cite the pshat of Rabbi Avram ibn Ezra, and then the Ramban will present his own pshat, which is based on the Perkei, the Rabbi Eliezer. The Ramban says, "V'goyral echad la'azazel, Perek Tezayin pasuk ches." What is Azazel? Har gavoya, a tall mountain, tzuk kasha, with a hard cliff. Shenemar, like it says, Eretz Gezerah, to a jagged land, to a land that is of sharp edges. Because later on, this location is described as Eretz Gezerah, so it's a tall mountain with a very hard cliff. That's what the word Azazel means. Lashon Rashi, says Ramban, this is the language of Rashi. Uv'toras koyanim, if you look in the Sifra, La'azazel, the commentary of the Sifra supports Rashi. La'mokim hakasha shabaharim, to the hardest parts of the mountain, Yachal Bayishav, you would think that this is somewhere in the settled area. Talmud Loimar Hamidbar, and therefore the Torah says it should be in the desert, in a uncivilized area. Uminayin shehutzuk, how do you know that it should be a cliff? Talmud Loimar Eretz Gezerah, it says a jagged land. So according to this interpretation, the Ramban says, Ufizeh, Yeh Perush Milas La'azazel, when the Torah says that the carbon is brought and sent to the Azazel, it's a place. What kind of place? Lakasha, a harsh place. Vu kafel hazayin. The reason why the letter zayin is doubled, it could just say le'azel. No, the zayin is doubled because often the zayin is doubled, like in the word izuz, which comes from the word oiz, izuz v'gibar. The Ramban then cites the pshat of the Ibn Ezra. So Rashi's pshat is La'azazel is a harsh, sharp mountain. Rabbi Avram Kasav, Rabbi Avram ibn Ezra writes, Amar Rav Shmuel, he first quotes the pshat of Rav Shmuel. Rav Shmuel was the father-in-law of Rav Hai Goin, Rav Shmuel ben Chafni. And Rav Shmuel says, Afal Pisha Kasav Basir HaChatos L'Shehu LaHashem, that even though the goat, which was a carbon chatas, it says LaHashem, was brought to Hashem, Gam HaSoyer HaMishtalechu LaHashem. The sawyer that's sent away is also for Hashem, even though it doesn't say it. So in other words, you might be erroneously think that since the one that's for Achatas, it says LaHashem, you would think the one that's LaAzazel is not for Hashem. Says Rav Shmuel, no, don't worry, the one that is LaAzazel is for Hashem as well. But says the Ibn Ezra, Ve'in Sorech, we don't need to say like Rav Shmuel, Ki HaMishtaleach Einoi Karban, the one that is sent away is not an actual carbon, shelo yishached, it's not slaughtered. So what is it? Well, says the Ibn Ezra, ve'im yachalt lahavin hasoid. If you want to understand the secret of the Sar LaAzazel, shehu achar milas Azazel, if you want to understand the secret, which is after the word LaAzazel, which some of the Mefarshim of the Ibn Ezra say this was referring to the word that comes after Azazel or Hamidbara. Then if you want to understand it, Teida Soida, you will know the Soid, you will know the secret, V'Soidai Shemai, and the secret of its name. Ki yesh lo chaverim b'mikra. There are other parallels and other similar words, similar to the word Azazel, that could shed light and reflect upon the meaning of the word Azazel. In other words, this is not an isolated word, but there are other similar words to Azazel in the Chumash. Says he is Ibn Ezra, Va'ani agala lecha ktsas hasoy beremez, and I will reveal to you a little bit of the secret in a hint, and that is, you ready? Drum roll, please. Here is a little bit of a revelation of the secret of the Azazel. Biyoischa ben shloishim v'shalosh teda'ehu. When you are 33, you will know it. Now, what does that mean? When you are 33, you will know it. Does it mean when you become 33 years old? So the Ramban himself interprets this, and as do some of the Mefarshim on the Ibn Ezra. That is, if you count 33 psukim from where the word Azazel first appears, then you get to the pasuk V'lo yizbechu oid es zivchem las seirim, which refers to the demons. In other words, Azazel refers to the forces of Tumah, and this is how, in fact, the Ramban himself interprets the words of the Ibn Ezra, as we're going to see soon. However, I once saw in the writings of the Samar Rebbe that what the Ibn Ezra is referring to is that we know the number 33 is associated with the Kabbalistic secrets, like Lag BaOmer. Lag BaOmer was the day that the secrets of the Zohar were revealed to the world. So what Ibn Ezra means is, Kibiyoischa ben shloishim v'shalosh teda'ehu, when you reach the madrega of understanding Kabbalah, symbolized by the number 33, then you will understand the secret of the Azazel. The Ramban now cites a few midrashim to explain what the Ibn Ezra means, that the Azazel somehow is associated with what we said before, the Seirim, the demons. Well, says the Ramban, the Ibn Ezra did not really reveal to us the true nature of what Azazel is. V'nei Rabbi Avram neman ruach mechasa davar. The Ramban now paraphrases a pasuk in Mishlei, Parak Yud Aleph, pasuk Yud Gimel, that Rabbi Avram was a faithful spirit and he covered over the matter. In other words, this is a highly classified information, and the Ibn Ezra only gave us a little bit of a hint as to its true meaning. However, says Ramban, Aval ani harachel megala soidai. I will be the talebearer, and I will reveal to you the true nature of what Azazel is, and the reason why I will be this Rachel, so to speak, this peddler, this Baal Lashon Hara, if you were, Shekvar Gilu Rabbi Sinozal Oisai B'Makamis Rabbim, because our Chazal have already revealed to us the true meaning of what Azazel is in many places. Number one, Amru B'Bereshis Rabbah. Chazal teach us in the Medrash, V'nasa hasoyer alav, the soyer will bear upon him, ze Esav. This refers to Esav. As we know, Esav is called soyer. Shenemar hein Esav achi ish soyer. Behold, Esav, my brother, is a hairy man. So the soyer refers to Esav. Es kol avoinoisam is a compound word. Avoinoisam can be read as avoinois tam, the sins of the Ishtam, namely Yaakov. Shenemar v'Yaakov Ishtam. In other words, somehow the Azazel is a representation of Esav bearing the guilt for the sins of Yaakov. This is explained further in the Pirkei Rebbe Lezer and Parak Mem Vav. That is why we would give the carbon to what we know as the Samach Mem, the archangel of Esav, Samael, Samach Mem Aleph Lamed. Therefore, we would give him shoichad b'Yom Kippur. We would give him, so to speak, a bribe on Yom Kippur. This carbon was a form of bribery to the angel of Esav. Shlo ya'akiv is karbanam, so that he should not interfere with their carbon. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, goyrol echad laHashem, one lot to God, v'goyr echad la'Azazel, one lot to Azazel. Goyroloi shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'karban oila. The animal that fell on the goyrol of Hashem went up to a carbon. In other words, was offered to God. V'goyroloi shel Azazel. And the goyrol that went for Azazel, seir chatas, which was a sire for a Kamar Chatas, V'chal v'noisem shal Yisrael alav. All the sins of the Jewish people rested on this carbon Chatas that was brought la'Azazel. Shenemar v'nasa hasar alav es kol v'noisem. Now, once the sins of the Jewish people, so to speak, ride on that carbon, then Samael sees the Jewish people have been freed and cured and healed from their sins. Samael saw that there was no sin on Yom Kippur. Amar lefnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he says before God, Riboin kol ha'olamim, Master of the universe, Yesh lecha am echad ba'aretz, there is a nation here on earth, k'malachei ashar shvashamayim, like the heavenly angels in heaven. Ma malachei asharis yechefei regal. Now their greatest adversary is their greatest defendant. He says, when Samuel sees they have no sins, he says, you have a nation here on this world like the heavenly angels in heaven. Ma malachei asharis yechefei regal. Just like the heavenly angels are barefoot, they have no shoes. Kachim Yisrael yechefei regal b'Yom Kippurim. The Jewish people are also barefoot on Yom Kippur. They wear no shoes on Yom Kippur. Just like the heavenly angels have there's no eating and no drinking. So too, there's no eating and drinking among the Jewish people on Yom Kippur. Just like the heavenly angels have no joints, they have no knees, they can't jump. So too, the Jewish people stand tall all of Yom Kippur. Just like the heavenly angels are amidst great peace, so too the Jewish people, after asking each other for forgiveness, are also in great peace. And just like the heavenly angels are free of sin, so by giving this, so to speak, bribe to the Samach Mem, he looks at the Jewish people and he compares us to the angels. VaHaKadosh Baruch Hu shoymea edusan shel Yisrael min hakateger shalem. God hears the defense of the Jewish people from the prosecutor. Umechaper al mizbeach. God atones for the altar, v'al mikdash, and for the temple, v'al kohanim, and for the priests, v'al kol am hakol, and for the whole congregation. Shenemar v'chiparas mikdash hakodesh. These are the words of the Pirkei Rabbi Elazar. V'hinei hoidi anu shemayu ma'aseu. So the Pirkei Rabbi Elazar is now revealing to us the name of Azazel, and his name is Samach Mem Aleph Lamed, the angel of Esav. Ad kan agadazu. This is the end quote from the Pirkei Rabbi Elazar, and he has told us the secret of the Azazel. Now the Ramban offers explanation why we're giving bribery or giving the appearance that we're offering carbon to the angel of Esav. Says Ramban, V'zehu soid ha'in. Here's the secret of the matter. Ki hayu oivdei Elohim achirim. The Jews in Egypt served other powers, namely Him HaMalachim. Oisim lahem karbanos, they would offer them sacrifices. V'heim lahem l'reach nichayach, and it would seem that they were giving them something of fragrant aroma, ke'inyan shenemar, like the pasuk says, "V'shamni, my oil, u'tarti, and my incense." Now the word here is spelled nasati lefnehem. God says, "I placed before them," but it's read nasata. You placed before them the reach nichayach vayehi no'am Hashem Elokim, and it was so. Says Ramban, we now have to understand the way this pasuk is written, namely that God was the one who offered these karbanos to the angels, and that which it says, that which is pronounced, that you, the Jewish people, offer these karbanos. Now you have to expound on the way it's written, namely that I, God, gave these offerings to the angels, and you placed it before them. Now God absolutely forbid accepting their divine power, their power, and any service of them. However, God commanded b'Yom HaKippurim, on the holy day of Yom Kippur, we're going to send a goat to the desert, lasar, to the officer, hamoishel b'mekaymes hachorban, to this ministering angel, the angel of Esav. Now the angel of Esav has dominion over places of desolation and destruction. B'mekaymes hachorban. That is most fitting for him. That is what he is the master over. Umeatzilos koichai. And what is hewn out, what emanates from his power, Yavai Chayrev Vishimaman, destruction and desolation emanate. Kihu ha'ila. Because he is the cause, now, not the ultimate cause, but God has invested in him certain power to imbue power, l'koichve hacherev, to those constellations that control sword, v'hadam, and bloodshed, v'hamachamas, and war, v'himrivos, and strife, v'habitzoim, and wounds, v'hamakois, and inflictions, v'haperud, and disparity, v'hachurban, and desecration, and destruction. V'hachurban, v'haklal, and here's the general rule. The general rule is that every orb in heaven has a soul, so to speak, which is the angel that rules over it, and the constellation that controls the forces of impurity and destruction and devastation and bloodshed is Mazal Ma'adim, the Mazal of Mars, the red constellation of Mars. And the soul of Mars is the angel of Esav, the Samach Mem Aleph Lamed, the Samoel, the Sa'ir. The Haklal, the general rule is Nefesh Legalgal Ma'adim, the soul of the constellation Mars, meaning he, the angel of Esav, is the soul of the constellation Mars. Esav, and each constellation and ministering angel has a share of a nation in this world, and the share of Mars is Esav, the red one. Shehu am yoyresh hacherev, that is the nation that inherits the sword, v'hamalchames, and war, u'min ha'behemois, and among the animals associated with Esav, hasi'irim v'ha'izim, are the goats, the he-goats and the she-goats of the chelkoi oid, and furthermore in his share, hashedim are the demons, hanikroim mazikim, that are called demons, Volshain Rabbi Seinu in the language of our Rabbeim, Uvolshain HaKosov, and in the language of the Pasuk, they're called Seirim, meaning the demons in the language of the Chumash are called goats. Kikain Yikari Huvu Umasai Seir, as he and his nation are called the goat. Ve'ein hakat. Now, why are we bringing a carbon to an angel of Esav? Says Ramban, ve'ein hakavana basar ha'mishtalech she'er carbon me'itanu elav chalila. Heaven forbid that when we bring the sar la'azazel, we are bringing a carbon to the angel of Esav. Avol shetia kavanoiseinu. Our intent is merely to follow the orders of the chief, namely God, who commanded us to bring this carbon to Azazel. And as Ramban is going to go on to explain, when we bring it to Azazel, it is not even reckoned as if we brought it to Azazel, but since we're just following orders, it's as if God himself gave it to Azazel. Avol shatia kavanah lasos tzayim bereinu shetzivanu bakach. It is our kavana to do the will of our Creator who commanded us to do this. V'hamashal, here's the analogy. B'misha asa suda l'melech. Let's say someone made a big meal for the king. V'tziva ha'melech es ha'isha ha'isa suda. And the king commanded the one who hosted the meal, by the way, throw a bone to this Eved. 10 mana la'avdi Pliny. Throw a bone to my servant Pliny. She'eno isa suda noisin klum le'evadahu. When the host of the Suda throws the piece of meat to the Eved, it's not even considered like he's giving anything to the Eved. V'loi l'chvoide yasi imoi. He's not doing it for the honor of the Eved. Rak hakol nosan lamelech. It's as if he gave the meat to the king, and the king gave the meat to the Eved. V'hamelech noisim prasa avdoi. V'shamar zeh mitzvasai. And the host is merely fulfilling the mitzvah of the king. V'asal l'chvoid hamelech. And he's just doing it for the honor of the king. Kol asher tzivahu, everything that he commanded. V'amnan hamelech l'chamlasei abal suda, because the king has mercy on the host, he wants all of his attendants to have a good impression and to say good things about the host. So he says, throw a bone, give a piece of meat to this Eved. Ratza shia kol avadim nene mimenu. He wants all his avadim to be nene from it. Sheyisapro b'shivchai v'lo b'gnusai, to relate his praise and not his shame. The Ramban continues that this is the reason why that when we allocate the various karbanos, one la'Hashem and one la'Azazel, we don't do it, okay, this one is la'Hashem, this one is la'Azazel. We do it by lottery, as if we don't know which one is la'Azazel. It's not even up to us. We're not the one giving la'Azazel. God determines which is Azazel, and we're just following His orders. He wants us to give it to the Azazel. It's like we gave it to Him and He gave it to the Azazel. He's the one who determined who the Azazel is in the first place. V'zeh tam ha-goyrolos. This is the reason for the goyrolos. Ki ilu haya ha-koyin makdish oisan bepeh l'Hashem l'Azazel. If the koyin would have sanctified this one to Hashem and this one l'Azazel, haya ka'oived elav. It would be as if he's serving the Azazel a noider l'shmai and bringing a neder to the name of the Azazel. But rather aval haya mamid oisam l'fnei Hashem. the Kohen Gadol would set them both before God. Even the one la'azazel, indicating even what we give la'azazel is really reckoned that we're giving it to God. Ki shneim matana l'Hashem, they're both a gift to Hashem. V'hu nasan mehem la'avdoin, he gives from them to his servant. Hachilek asher yavei lameis Hashem, you're giving the servant the portion that came to him from God. Hu hipil lohem b'goyrol, he cast out the lots, v'yadai chilakte lohem, and it was his hand, God's hand, that divvied up, like it says in Mishlei, b'chik yutal hagoyrol ome Hashem kamishpatai. Like it says, when the lottery is cast in the lap, then the judgment was decided by the Almighty. V'gam acharei hagoyrol, and even after the goyrol, they still position the sar la'azazel lifnei Hashem hayamamido lifnei Hashem, as if to say this portion is not really la'azazel, it is for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Vein anachnu mechavnim b'shiluchai ela l'ratzayin l'Hashem, and we are not intending and sending it only for God's will. Kamay she'amar, as the pasuk says yo'amar chai, it will stand alive lifnei Hashem, before God, lechaper alav, to atone upon it, l'shalach choseh, to send it, and that's why we don't shecht it at all, because it's not a carbon. It is merely following the orders of Hashem, who says, throw him a bone. Now, the Ramban makes 2 points. He says this is one of the reasons why Chazal say, by the chukim, that chukim are items and mitzvahs that the goyim mak us about. One of the things the goyim mak us about is the azazel. But it doesn't say that the goyim mak us about other karbanos, because other karbanos, they understand we're bringing it to God. But azazel lends the appearance that we're offering it to another deity, chas v'shalom, so that's something that they mak us about because of the appearance of the offering of the azazel. And the Ramban explains that's the reason why the one who offers the azazel has to wash his clothing, because since he's being associated with something that lends the appearance of a type of service which may border something which ordinarily would not be permitted, therefore he has to cleanse himself from this type of association, which is not a procedure which is normally done by other kohanim that bring karbanos, and that is because the sar la'azazel lends the appearance of something that borders idolatrous, so to speak, and therefore he has to cleanse his clothing. This is Ramban's pshat in the Azazel. It is brought to the angel of Esav, but not that we're actually bringing him a carbon, but we're, so to speak, following the will of God, who says, I reckon it as if you gave it to me and I gave it to the Azazel. And as the Pirkei the Rebbe Lezer describes, that the Azazel is then transformed into our greatest defendant and our greatest supporter on the Yom Hadin. The Ramban goes on to explain that the Ibn Ezra, when he says when you get to 33, you'll understand it. It means when you get to the pasuk in Parak Yud Ches, pasuk Ches, that v'lo yizbechu oid esevchem la'seirim, and the Ramban says the word Azazel is a compound word, and it consists either of Azaz Kel, where we have many times a name of an angel has the word Kel in the end, or other Mefarshim say it's a lashon of Azal, the Oiz Azal, the strong prosecutor left, departed through the shaychad that we offered the angel of Esav. So this is the Ramban's approach to the Sar La'azazel, and Be'ezus Hashem, wishing everyone a wonderful week and a wonderful upcoming Shabbos, Parshas Acharei Kedoshim, Haba Aleinu L'Tova.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.